Punk Revolution now. Today we're going to be talking about Spotify. Spotify streaming revenue, Spotify rap, Spotify. I'm seeing Spotify all over Twitter lately, obviously, because of Spotify raps. Recently, Phil Elverum of The Microphones. The Microphones, a band that's been around for decades, very influential in the genre of indie rock and lo-fi rock. Phil Elverum made kind of a bitter, sort of irritating kind of tweet where a fan tweeted at Phil Elverum, "Look, I am in your top 0.05% of Spotify listeners," or something like that, listen to the shiz out of The Microphones. And isn't that awesome? And then he made a little joke like, "Yo, I know you don't like streaming services, but hopefully I listened to you enough you made at least $1. Just trying to be friendly." And Phil Elverum quote tweeted this and was just like, "Oh, I can't believe my fans, they listen to me and love my music, but they know I'm not making any money off Spotify, but they're still streaming me." Just came off super bitter and just not very appreciative. Like if a fan tweeted at me like, "Look, I watched a shit ton of your YouTube videos," or something, I'd be like, "Oh, that's amazing." I wouldn't even think about the ad revenue or anything like that. But Phil Elverum, I've seen for a long time. I've seen a lot of tweets from him criticizing Spotify for not paying artists enough. And it's not just Phil Elverum, it's a lot of artists, lots of music journalists, lots of people criticizing Spotify because they're paying like a fraction of a penny per stream. And if you're someone like Phil Elverum, who is super influential in indie music and has released music for decades and has tons of albums released, and you got all these streams on Spotify, and you're not making enough money to get by, I can see why that would be extremely frustrating. And I would get my ass on Twitter and I'd be complaining about it all the time too. So I kind of can understand where he's coming from. I get it, I really do. However, I hate to be that guy, but I need to show you something. Please watch this video because it's important for you to understand why all this criticism about Spotify not paying their artists enough money is kind of full of crap. It's sort of full of crap. I seriously do not want to come off like that guy who's defending a big billion-dollar corporation for exploiting their workers or whatever. I'm definitely not that guy. I'm very left-wing. I want to defend fucking truck honking, exploited ass truck driver fucking honking. All right, I don't give a fuck about you anymore. I don't want to defend a big ass corporation from exploiting their workers, and I'm not, because that's just not what's happening. I think that's what everyone. I'm sick of it. Okay, I'm sick of it. There's so much shitty exploitation going around in the world, and with Spotify not paying their artists enough, I just don't think there's any exploitation going on here at all. I just gotta show you this. All right, so first take a look at this graph here. This is a graph of the amount of revenue that the music industry is raking in, okay? And obviously not all of this money goes to artists, a lot of it goes to record labels and this and that, but, the more money that goes into the music industry in general, the more money that gets to go to artists somewhere in that chain. And as you can see, the amount of money that the music industry was bringing in was dropping dramatically. I remember a decade ago when I first started listening to music, it was like a whole freaking crisis. Everyone thought maybe the music industry would just be dead and it would only be indie artists who released music that were just releasing it for not expecting to make any money, which I frankly would be cool with, but the reason for this is pretty obvious. The internet made it so easy to illegally download music. And let's be real, if you're a music nerd like me who wants to listen to hundreds of albums every year, I'm not gonna fucking pay $10 an album, alright? I wanna listen to my goddamn all this crap, so I'm gonna fucking illegally download it, and that's what I'm gonna do. I don't think there's anything unethical about illegally downloading music, because music is supposed to be a goddamn art. And if you disagree, go ahead and suck a fucking record label's dick and fight for them to have stronger intellectual property laws and copyright laws. If you want to do that, you can go ahead. But this trend of the amount of money coming into the music industry decreasing because of illegal downloads, I thought was fine. It was what it was. But now you can see in the past 5 years, the amount of money going to the music industry has gone up because of these streaming services. And I think a lot of people see the amount of money being drawn into the music industry going up, and the amount of money that artists are making go, it's going up too, but it's going up too, but you went from making literally no money off your music to like maybe, a fraction of a penny per stream. That, you're gonna feel exploited there for sure, but I need you to understand, your choices are either people are gonna listen to your music, they're gonna illegally download it, and you're not gonna make shit, or you're gonna get it on Spotify and you're gonna make at least a little bit of something. Okay, cool. So artists are now getting paid at least a fraction of a penny per stream, while before they were getting paid nothing because people were torrenting it. But don't you think Spotify still should pay more to their artists? I mean, if the revenue of the music industry is going up, don't you think they should make sure to contribute more of that money to artists? Because, you know, Spotify's a big ass corporation and it's kind of disturbing for people like Phil Loverum to get fucking jack squat. Well, my response to you on that is I would absolutely love to live in a world where artists were getting paid more per stream. However, music is just not a fucking, there's just not very much money involved in music, okay? I mean, take a look at Spotify's profits over the past, since it was literally freaking started. It's not a profitable company. That means they are literally spending more money on paying workers, on paying artists, on paying to keep their platform running than the amount of money that they're actually making from people who are paying to use the service. So like, if you want Spotify to pay musicians more, you have to understand that money doesn't exist, which means it has to come from somewhere. So that means they either have to increase the costs of people have to pay each month to use Spotify, which I frankly don't like the idea of that, because it's very important for me that a lot of people all around the world now have access to a shit ton of music at their fingertips. It's very important for me. I'll explain more about that later. So they could either increase the costs, which is going to take more money out of everybody's pockets. I don't want to do that. I want it to be cheaper for everybody. Or they could fire a bunch of workers so they can make more money in order to pay the artists more. I don't want them to do that. There's, you know, basically what I'm trying to say is it needs to come from somewhere. And I think a lot of people have this idea that Spotify is, you know, paying their artists jack shit in order for the capitalist class to extract more wealth. But right now, it's not a profitable company. The capitalist class is actually not making any money off this exploitation of artists right now because it's not a profitable company. And you might think then, okay, fine. Well, if Spotify is not a profitable company and they're paying their artists jack shit, then that means Spotify is an inherently unethical business organization, and the streaming service business model should not exist because it is dependent on exploitation of artists, and if it's not profitable, then boom, it shouldn't exist. And you might make that argument, and some people make that same argument for like Uber and Lyft and stuff, and I actually think there's a lot of validity with that argument with Uber and Lyft, because I mean the fucking Uber and Lyft drivers are fucking working a fucking shitty job, and they deserve to get paid well. With Spotify, I'm telling you right now, and if you as an artist, if you have a choice between a world where Spotify exists and a world that where Spotify doesn't exist, you want Spotify to fucking exist, or else we're gonna go back a decade to back when everyone was torrenting shit. Okay, it's like you have two shitty choices as an artist. Spotify exists and you get paid a little bit of crumbs, or Spotify doesn't exist and you get paid fucking jack crap. And last but not least, what I think this is extremely important too that people need to understand is that the Spotify algorithm has been a gift from fucking God for indie musicians. So for example, I recently interviewed the band Sweet Trip, who makes pretty experimental IDM shoegaze kind of music, and they recently released an album this year, and I was asking them, you know, I noticed that your band has kind of really resurged in popularity over the past 5 years. What do you think plays a role in that? And a part of it was certainly Rate Your Music. They're very popular on rateyourmusic.com, but another part of it is definitely the Spotify algorithms, because the Spotify algorithms, if a song is getting added to playlists a lot, is getting streamed a lot, is, you know, people are big fans of it and stuff, it's gonna do really well in the algorithm, and it's gonna start popping up for more people. So if you're a good artist and you release good music, now you have a gateway to actually be rewarded for that, while back 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you were literally dependent on record labels. They were the gatekeepers, and now you don't need that gatekeeper. Another example, Floral Tattoo, who I also interviewed. I talked to them about how they built up a fan base, and they said they released a song in their debut EP, Fantano gave it a shout out, and then from there it took off in the algorithm, and the Spotify algorithm continued showing that song to more and more people. And then with me, I've got, you know, I have this like fun little fireman project. I released a debut EP. You could take a look, I've got like, you know, thousands of streams, thousands of playlists, and people from all over the fucking world listening to this music. And it's not because, you know, it's not all from my YouTube. Well, obviously a lot of it is because the Spotify algorithm, and I can see the stats, the Spotify algorithm is putting that song in front of more people. So for me, Spotify is a clear fucking win. At least I made $40 off my EP, by the way, from streaming. And that fucking sounds pathetic, but believe it or not, I'm happy as fuck for that, because my choices were between $40 through Spotify or $0 from people just downloading it for free or torrenting it. And guess what? For me, I'm happy either way. The $40 is a nice little bonus. I can go buy myself dinner for a night. You know what I mean? Like, that's whatever. The reality is, the red pill, the black pill, the pill you gotta take as a musician is that music don't get your ass into it. Don't get your fucking ass into it expecting to make money. Because it doesn't exist. Don't blame Spotify. They're not fucking making money. Don't blame fucking yourself because no one's fucking making money. It's just the reality of fucking music being. Don't fucking. It's a fucking art. It's for fun. It's for love. It's out of love. And this is how it's always been. You can fucking read about bands back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, fucking just living in poverty. Okay? Because that's the reality of being a musician. Is your music is great. It gives me chills. It moves me emotionally. It gives me the reason to live. But I'm not fucking paying for that shit. And I didn't even talk about all the benefits that Spotify has for the actual music listeners, how it has opened up the door to tons and like millions of people who now have Spotify Spotify is literally putting good indie music directly in front of them through the algorithms. Like that's great for the music listeners too, which I think is really important too. I care a lot about the artists, but I frankly care more about the music listeners. I want music listeners to be happy. I don't give a fuck about the artists. I want the fucking listeners to be moved by the music. And I don't think artists should really give a shit about themselves either. I think you shouldn't have any fucking ego, if I'm being entirely honest. And look, even though I just went on this big ass rant why people need to get the fuck off Spotify's ass over them not paying enough for streams, the truth is I understand that the status quo is fucking ridiculous. I really do. It's an awful, ridiculous status quo. We got people who've contributed so much amazing music not making jack squat from it. I'm not saying I'm happy about this at all. I mean, it's such an unfair goddamn system because you got plenty of artists who work their ass off and they just simply aren't able to continue being a musician because they're not making enough money from it. And then you've got artists like Liturgy, who is a fucking landlord in Brooklyn who has the rent money she's able to use to make experimental, masturbatory black metal projects, and she has the freedom to do that because she's a fucking landlord. It's an unfair system. The winners win and the losers lose. I think if you really give a shit about artists and low income workers not making enough money, then you need to think bigger picture in terms of redistribution, whether it's universal basic income or fucking just universal health care or fucking communist revolution, whatever. You know, that's I think we gotta think bigger picture, and I think people need to get off Spotify's ass because you're yelling at Spotify for not giving people money that doesn't even exist, and they're actually giving more money than the alternative, which is torrenting and doesn't pay anything. I hate to be that fucking guy who has to say, well, actually, but I'm seeing this all the time, and now it's even getting Phil Elverum being a fucking asshole to a nice fan, so I'm done with it. That's all I have to say, folks. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and don't rage in the comments because I know you're a little bitch. Sorry. Punk Revolution now.